Okay, I wanted to make a video about why phone reviews suck in 2018 and 2017. And first of all, this picture I have up here is just generic. This has nothing to do with it. I don't really even know this site. I just bought this Moto G5 here on the left. Plus, so I just wanted to look at a video comparing it to the upcoming Moto G6, make sure I wasn't missing out on too much, specifically with regard to the size of the screen. By the way, it's not going to be my personal phone. I bought it for somebody. But anyways, so I just put this up as a generic placeholder picture to talk over while I do this video. I've never even really heard of this reviewer before, so I don't think I'm personally slamming this reviewer because it's on his video. I believe he's an Indian reviewer anyway. But here's why phone reviews suck. This pissed me off recently. Here's what happened. I bought a Honor 7X, okay? Now I have to say, all things considered, it's a pretty good phone. It only costs $199 and it's a big phone. It's, for the most part, it has a lot of little bugs. That's what's annoying about it. For the most part, it's fairly smooth, it's fairly big, it's fairly pretty, it's powerful, and it's $199. You can't get anything for $199. I mean, even all the phones that used to be $199 have all crept up, and now they're $249, $300. Phone prices just keep going up and up and up and up. You don't see deals like you used to either. I mean, a few years ago, I was able to get like my S6 Edge Plus, super cheap. You don't see that anymore. There's no deals really anymore. You know, like look at the OnePlus brand line of phones. They've increased from like was it originally $200 to like $500, and there's rumors the OnePlus 6 is going to be even more. You know, granted the dollar's toilet paper, so everything's got to go up in price, but still, phones have only gone up, and even these Moto G6s, they haven't been released in the USA yet, but I can imagine they're a little bit more than the predecessors, you know, and you start to get to where, like probably the Moto G6 Plus, which is the one I want, except that damn it, it's not coming out in the USA. That could be a whole separate video. I bet you it's going to be $300 or more. You know, you're starting to talk significant money for these so-called budget phones, you know. But anyways, let's get back to why phone reviewers suck. So I got the Honor 7X, and there's two, besides all the little bugs, but there's two major problems that immediately struck me with it. And again, I'm not bashing the phone because on the whole I have mixed feelings about it. Mixed feelings not necessarily being negative. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, you know. But some of them are good. Overall, I kind of, that's the thing you have to keep in mind. Nothing's $199 anymore. Only thing you can get for $199 is maybe this Moto G5 Plus on the left here. And even that's debatable. A lot of times it's $229 already. But so even all the other budget phones are more than $229. You know, unless you're talking about some Xiaomi's that are only sold in India or something that are probably trash. I can't keep up with all the Xiaomi's or however you pronounce it. And to some extent the Honors and whatever. But anyway, so I bought this Honor 7X. I was all excited about it. Here's the two major issues I had with it. One, the screen was dull. There's no other way to put it. Specifically, the viewing angles were dull. It was immediately noticeable coming from Samsung flagships. It was just weird. Like as soon as you turned it, it lost a lot of its luster. It was also kind of dim. You had to turn the brightness way up. You had to turn the brightness probably like 80-90% to me to get good. Now I like my phone maybe a little brighter than some others, and I always turn off auto brightness on phones because it always leaves them lower than I want 90% of the time. The only time it's good is when you're outside. Then it jacks the brightness way up for you. But the rest of the time, 90% of the time I'm using the phone, they leave it too dim for me, way too dim, you know, because all they want to do is prioritize battery life so that people go, oh, my phone has great battery, buy it, you know, because they're stupid like every corporation, and they pander to the masses, you know. So what they're worried about is battery life, so they leave you. So I typically just set my displays at like a little over half is like how I like to do it on say a Samsung. I turn off auto brightness. So they're nice and bright, you know, but it's consistent and everything. Well, and battery life's still not too bad. But anyways, What was I on about? Yeah, so the display on this Honor 7X was, looked straight on, it was pretty good. It still looked a little weird, but as soon as you tilted it, it lost a lot. The off-angle viewing was poor. It just looked cheap, to me. Again, I don't want to bash the phone too much. It's $199 and nothing is $199 anymore. You can't get a can of dog food for $199 anymore. Do they sell dog food in cans? I already know they do, but anyways. So I'm not bashing it per se, but the screen was just noticeable, and I'm the farthest thing from a video file. The farthest thing. I don't even care. I game a lot. I barely care if a game is 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. A lot of people will act like it's the biggest deal in the world. I barely give a shit, so that ought to tell you how much of a video file I am. Same thing with TVs. I don't even know what I'm looking at if I'm looking at a TV, really. Oh, is that a good picture? Is that a bad picture? I don't know. Some people can sit there and dissect a television picture to the nth degree. Oh, it has anti-aliasing. Oh, it has light bleed in the left quadrant. Oh, look, it's the blue hues are a little oversaturated. I don't fucking know any of that shit. It all looks good to me for the most part. But I could immediately tell with this Honor 7X, the display is basically kind of low quality. And it's fine. It works. If you just want a phone that works, it's fine. But just off-angle viewing was poor on it. It was just very noticeable to me. And I'm not a videophile, once again. Here's the thing. No reviews mention this. None. In fact, if they ever brought up the display, they generally just praise it for 2 seconds and move on. They'd say something like, a bright, vivid display. Or I read one written review actually praised the off-angle viewing. Excellent off-angle viewing. I think the only 2 references I saw to off-angle viewing angles in any reviews were both positive, saying it had good off-angle. Bullshit, it's terrible. Bullshit. It's so bad that I honestly kind of wonder if Honor was sending out primo version, primo models to the reviewers and getting another model with a crappier display actually selling it to consumers. I have no evidence of that, no proof of that. But all I know is the reviewers are either not mentioning the bad screen or just saying the screen looks good, the screen has great viewing angles, and all this other screen is bright and colorful. All this shit, what are they looking at? I can only think that maybe Honor was sending out ringer phones, with great displays and selling something different, because the one I got's not like that. And the brightness was, like I said, subpar. I had to turn it to probably 2/3 to 75%, where I normally like my displays about half. Just a little smidge over half usually. And really, to get any real brightness out of it, you had to turn it to 80-90%, to get it real nice and vibrant and bright. Which is really pushing it, because displays lose brightness over time. So if your 80-90% looks good now, it means in a year or two that display is not even going to be capable of putting that out, So that's so that was the number one issue that I had with the phone. Second huge thing, the phone has a bug where with Bluetooth on, Wi-Fi is throttled badly to 3 megabits per second. It's somewhat usable, but that's pretty bad. My home internet's 50 megs a second. And it's bad. If you sit there and download a podcast, it takes forever at 3 megabits per second. Or, even YouTube barely wants, it'll skip sometimes. Snapchat really had trouble on it. Anything we need fast loading, it was really annoying. Now, simplest solution would be to toggle Bluetooth off, but I don't like to do that because I use Bluetooth a lot on my phones. I'm always Bluetooth into my car for media on my car, listening to podcasts and music in my car. I Bluetooth a lot even at home. Do a little. I got the JBL Flip 3. I think I did a review on it on my channel somewhere. I use that a ton to listen to podcasts just around the house. So I'm always on Bluetooth half the time, always half the time. What is that cologne joke from that Will Ferrell movie? Works 100% of the time, 50% of the time, or something like that. Anyways, so I'm always on Bluetooth, so you can just toggle Bluetooth off and the Wi-Fi speeds will go right back to where they should be, around 50 megs a second, whatever. But I shouldn't have to do that, and it really honestly is annoying. And every time you toggle the Bluetooth back on, it's going to sit there and, oh, I found this and I found that. It's just a pain in the, I found this speaker. Do you want to connect? It's going to pop. It's going to bombard you with annoying pop-ups and all this shit. So it was very annoying, and that was honestly the biggest bug I found about the phone. And I posted online about it at a few places. And sure enough, everybody else I talked to had the same problem. One guy was like, wow, that's like magic. After you told me, I went and tested Bluetooth and Wi-Fi together. And sure enough, the Wi-Fi was throttled to like 3 megabits per second. I knew this from doing speed tests, by the way. I wasn't just guessing or something. And it was just just a blatant, clear as could be. And I only actually figured this out. I think I originally just thought the Wi-Fi was slow. But then I figured out something because the guy on a forum had posted that OnePlus phones, which are also made in China like the Honor phones, had the same issue. And the technicians told him, well, he's the same antenna for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and so there's interference, and that's why it does that, or something like that. But his thing, the OnePlus phones, they only throttled the Wi-Fi to like 25 megs, which is still bad, but if it was only 25 megs, I wouldn't give a shit, because that's very usable in my opinion. And I probably wouldn't even notice 25 megs. The Honor 7X throttles it down to 3 megs. 3 when Bluetooth is on. Really about like 2.8. I just rounded it off to 3. Very consistent. Very, very consistent, 2.6, 2.8. It'll always be right in that area. Always, 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 always. It's obviously some sort of hard limit. Now, there was really not much discussion of this online. No communication from Motorola. I don't know if it was a hardware problem. The guy who had the problem with the OnePlus, that I found his old comments or whatever, and he noted that OnePlus had told him that the issue was that he used the same antenna for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and that was causing interference, blah blah blah. So that suggests a hardware problem. No software fix might be possible, but I don't know. Honor never acknowledged it. There wasn't even a lot of chatter about it online, but everyone I talked to that I asked, they had the same problem. So I'm 99% sure it's a, complete problem. And the other thing is, I couldn't really send this phone back to Honor. I actually tried to send it back to them at one point, and they basically stopped replying. They have terrible customer service. I think that they're decent phones. I'm not out here to bash the Chinese, but honestly, if you buy one, from everything I read online, good luck returning it probably. I put in for an RMA at one point. And actually, to be fair, they did send me an email with the RMA shipping and all that. I think then I chose not to. Then later, I don't remember, but they did not respond very well to emails. And I was reading a lot of comments from people online saying it was taking forever, and they had to jump through a million hoops to get their money back. Which on the website it flashes this big old 15-day money back guarantee for any reason. Bullshit. Good luck with that. And plus, they have no retail presence, so the only thing you can deal with them is by mail, and that's a big pain in the ass too. It's not like if I bought this phone at Best Buy, I would return it within the 15 days because of the Bluetooth issue and the screen issue, probably. But I don't have any point of sale to return it to. It's mail order only. All I can do is send them an email, pray for an RMA, bundle it up, send it back, big pain in the ass, ship it back. I hate shipping things. It's a big pain in the ass. So I ended up just selling the phone, by the way. Like I said, it wasn't an all bad phone. There's a lot I liked about the build quality for a $199 device, incredible. Stuff like that. It did have a lot of bugs, though, a fair amount that were kind of annoying. But the point is, not one single freaking review mentioned this Bluetooth Wi-Fi issue. And I'm 99% certain this is on all Honor 7. These idiots doing these reviews do not even use these phones. I promise you that. They do not use them. They're idiots. It ticks me off watching these phone reviewers. They just do a superficial analysis. They play around with the phone for probably a couple hours is my guess. I doubt they even use it for a day. They say they do, but who knows. Not one review of the Honor 7X mentioned this Bluetooth Wi-Fi conflict. Not one. These people did not use this phone. Every review on the net of it did not use this phone. None of these people had this problem. These idiots at Phone Arena, Android Police, none of them used this fucking phone when they reviewed it enough to even know that, oh yeah, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth don't work together. At least that it throttles the Wi-Fi to the point of it not working. That's a big deal because I don't have unlimited data, and I'm not going to sit here. Actually, I do have unlimited data right now, but be that as it may. Generally on my Wi-Fi all the time at home. Also, my Wi-Fi is faster than my 4G connection. So that pissed me off. Just these reviewers do not use these phones because none of them knew about this Bluetooth Wi-Fi issue. None of them mentioned it in their Honor 7X reviews. None of them talked about the poor screen quality. None of them. So they're idiots, It pisses me off. And here's another thing that pisses me off about all these phone reviews. First of all, reviewers in general piss me off because of one specific thing that I've always noticed, going back many years. Reviewers, they're getting the best of the best all the time. So they're spoiled. They're used to these $1,000 flagships. It's the same thing as car reviewers. I see these snotty little comments on car reviews sometimes. Like, they'll be reviewing a little truck, right? And they'll say something like, don't bother with the 4-cylinder. Get the 8-cylinder, for the extra pickup or something. Just like it's nothing, and it's probably like another $10,000 to get the V8 version of this little truck. Say it's a compact truck. Don't bother with the Force. Who the fuck are you? Of course, yes, if you're rich and money doesn't matter and you can take whatever you want, yes, pick the 8-cylinder. Most people aren't like that, Those little glib comments reviewers make all the time annoy the shit out of me. I distinctly remember that was one of the car reviews that pissed me off the most. The reviewer said something about, don't bother with the 4-cylinder get the 8-cylinder, it's so much more peppy, or some shit. Yeah, for an extra, $8,000 and, a bunch of gas money and everything else, you moron, But see, here's the thing, they just review trucks all day. They get free trucks all day, so of course they want the V8, the top of the line trim package. That's all they're used to. That's all they drive. The manufacturers want to impress them, so they give them the top of the line thing. So anything else they turn up their nose at, and, like a 4-cylinder that the vast majority of people are driving. And it's the same way with these phones. These guys are all getting free iPhone X's, Galaxy S9s, And granted, I own a Galaxy S8. It's not like, it's not like that. But whenever they review these budget phones, it's kind of like they just, it's good for a budget phone. They'll say that like 50,000 times every review. And maybe I'm being too hard on them. I've thought about this. I guess there's only so much to say in a review, and probably if I was doing reviews, I'd do the same thing. I'd probably reference the phone's price a million times just like they do. But it kind of gets on my nerves after a while. Like every fucking thing when they're reviewing a phone that costs under $1,000, they have to say like, well, given the price and, it's pretty good for the price and blah, blah, blah. Another thing is how they act like expensive phones are cheap. Like OnePlus phones are $500. $500? And they act like, oh, well, it's only $500. What do you expect? Michael Fisher, and I guess I like him. I don't know, actually. But he's a review recently, and he was talking about the OnePlus 5T, and he made some snotty remark about how the company's slogan is never compromise, but isn't that really what they're actually all about, is compromise? Because I don't know, the fucking phone doesn't, have super duper 10,000K resolution and shit. It's just about compromises, and it kind of pissed me off as a little aside. This is a $500 top of the line phone. I don't even know what compromises it possibly has. I think it doesn't have optical image stabilization on the camera. Like there's two fucking people in America who give a shit about that, and they're both phone reviewers, by the way. Okay, maybe I'm being too harsh, but yeah, so that's what turned me off of phone reviews. Getting the Honor 7X, and the two biggest problems with it, no one talks about. You know what they talk about all the fucking time? Here's another issue I have with phone reviewers. What they do talk about all the fucking time. First of all, they talk all the time about certain things that don't fucking matter. Like, with the Honor 7X, every fucking review goes out of its way to point out, oh, it's not USB-C, it's micro USB. Turn up my nose. You know, who gives a fuck? That literally has nothing to do with anything. It's the plug you plug into the fucking phone to charge it, and that's all you ever do with it, ever. And who gives a shit? But they all are so snobby. It doesn't have USB-C, but I guess because it's a budget phone. Pisses me off. Literally, I don't see who cares about USB-C. I never had USB-C before up until recently. I got my S8, and the only thing is it makes it a little easier to plug in because it goes in either way. It's like 1% easier to plug in. Okay, it's 50% easier to plug in, but who gives a shit? And I guess it has faster data transfer and everything, which nobody will ever use ever. I mean, I can't remember the last time I fucking plugged my phone in to transfer data with it. Who are these people? And as far as fast charging, my S6 Edge Plus that had micro USB had fast charging. So what the fuck? It's not like USB Type C is necessary for fast charging. Lots of phones without it have fast charging. So I don't get it at all. But they always make a big deal out of that. Oh, there's USB-C. Who cares? Second thing they make a big deal out of. No fast charging, wireless charging, I think. Oh no, that's another gigantic. Who cares? I've never used wireless charging in my fucking life. And I guess if again, this is because they're phone reviewers and because all they do is handle expensive phones all day. They're not normal people, So they think wireless charging is a big deal. It's not. It's not water resistant. That's another one. First of all phones are water resistant to a point. And yes, I admit being water resistant is nice, but it's just not a big deal. Who cares? When do you need your phone to be water resistant? First of all, like I said, all phones are water resistant. Otherwise, every time you fucking took it out in the rain, it would be dead. And that's not the case. So every phone will take a little sprinkling just fine, as long as you wipe it off after and stuff. I've had plenty of phones that weren't waterproof. I had them out in the rain, and they're fine, So what the fuck is the waterproof good for? You want to know what it's kind of good for? Taking, near the shower. I don't ever take my phone in my shower. But there's times when I listen to podcasts and I'm handling the phone near the shower, I guess. It's honestly, having used phones not waterproof and phones waterproof before, it's almost no different. I mean, I take phones that aren't technically waterproof near the shower all the time anyway, and nothing ever happens to them, So yes, it's nice, a little nice to have the official waterproof, because like I said, I believe all phones are actually fairly water resistant, in that if they weren't, you just splashed them, they'd break, and then it'd be a piece of shit phone that no one would buy, But of course, the official waterproof specs and stuff are a little harder to live up to, so most of them don't claim them, but they're still water resistant, probably. And like I said, the fact that my phone is water resistant, it is nice. I'll give it that. It's nicer than USB-C, for example, things like that really don't matter at all. But it's still about the only time it might ever come into play is if I'm playing with my phone in the middle of a rainstorm for some reason, which might be 30 seconds over the 2 years I own the phone, I mean, why would you be outside playing with your phone in a rainstorm anyway, So it's really stupid. Or I guess if there's the case that I actually do, which is I listen to podcasts through my JBL Flip 3 in the bathroom a lot while I'm taking a shower. And I guess it's nice, but honestly, I don't put the phone anywhere near the shower anyway. I just put it on the sink or the top of the toilet. Set the podcast going and get in the shower. You don't ever really get the phone wet. That'd be stupid. Anyways. So that's another thing they always harp on that's, in my opinion, is not very relevant. So that's another thing that really bugs me, is they harp on a lot of stuff that isn't relevant and annoys me. And king of the hill for that, and this is another gigantic rant that I could make a whole other video is about, all they want to harp out about is the camera. And I'm like, I mean, I get it to an extent, and I sort of realize I'm wrong about this rant. But to me, it's like if you want a fucking camera, buy a fucking camera. It's a phone. Stop talking about the camera. You know, it's almost like people look at phones for now as cameras first. No, they're not cameras first. They're phones first. And you know, internet media consumption devices first. Cameras second. You know, but people are so obsessed with the fucking cameras on these things. Who cares? Like I keep saying, if you want a good camera so bad and you're so worried about, buy a camera. Gasp. You know, I think way too much in general of phone reviews is spent talking about the camera. It's almost the major thing they talk about. So if I was to do phone reviews differently, the number one thing I would focus, and the one thing they gloss over, I've noticed a lot, is the display. You know, they'll just say, especially after this Honor 7X debacle I had, they'll just say like, "Oh, the display is fine and colors pop and it looks very vibrant." And then they'll just, you know, after the 2 seconds of their 10-minute review, they'll move on to the next thing. Like I said, after the Honor 7X debacle, that's not good enough. You know, that didn't tell me what I need to know. You know, to me, the number one most important thing of a smartphone probably is the display. Number one, far, far, far above the camera. So why don't you spend your 8 minutes talking about the display instead of your fucking 8 minutes of your 10-minute video that you spent talking about the camera, fucking phone reviewers? You know, because that's the most important. That's how you interact with the fucking phone. You know, that's how you do everything on the fucking phone is the display. It's kind of a big deal. It's just throwing it out there. And they always just treat it like one small aspect of the phone. You know, they'll talk about the power, the camera, the battery life. You know, everything in the display is just kind of this little thing. No, it should be display, number 1A, number 1 display, number 1A display, number 1B display, number 1C something else. You know, but they got it all wrong and they just gloss over the display. And they generally just tell you nothing about it. They'll say if it's not a Samsung or Apple, they'll say it's fine. That's about all they'll say. Or it's good. It looks good. And they completely lied in the Honor 7X. You know, they all said it looked great, and it doesn't. So, or useless anyway, because you can't trust what they say anyway. So, you know, that's some of my gripes with phone reviewers. They're glib, you know, they all say the same shit. They don't use these phones, guaranteed. They're snobs, you know, they're not like real people, regular people. You know, it's just annoying. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, but like I say, first of all, stop talking about the damn camera. You know, it's not a camera. If you want to review cameras, go review cameras. It's a phone. You know, like I say, the glib reviews that touch all the same points, and they mention that this is especially if it's a budget phone that I watch a lot of reviews for. You know, they gotta mention 50,000 times it's a budget phone. It's like, give it a rest. And then they'll, you know, even when it's not a budget phone, it's a $500 phone, they'll constantly bring up like it's a fucking $2 phone. You know, but given the price, yeah, the sky high price. You know, they act like OnePlus phones are like fucking garbage because they don't have, I don't know, optical image stabilization or whatever kind of garbage no one cares about, you know. Here's the thing about smartphone cameras as well. To me, I can't tell any fucking difference. I mean, I sort of get it. I did notice, like, my Honor 7X versus my S8. I do notice the S8 pictures look better. I couldn't tell you why. I really don't have a clue why. They just do, you know. I couldn't say, well, look how much sharper it looks. The colors, I don't know why. It does look pretty good, but I don't know why, you know. I couldn't break it down for you. And to me, all smartphone cameras are fine. You know, they're all fine. Good grief, people. You don't need to spend 90% of your time reviewing phones talking about the camera. It's not a camera. So those are some of my pet peeves about phone reviewers, how they led me astray about the Honor 7X, how they talk about cameras too much, how they have snobbery that I think all reviewers have, whether they're car reviewers, phone reviewers, you know, video card reviewers. You know, they inevitably they're around the top of the line all the time, so they start to turn their nose up at anything less. You know, and it doesn't matter how much they say they don't, they still do. And I'm sure if I was a reviewer, I'd probably start doing the same thing. It's just human nature. But anyways, so that's my video. I'm near the 30-minute mark, so I'll go ahead and cut it off here.